No report, but I did read all the emails regarding tonight's meeting subject. Thank you.
Councilor Franco.
I have no report, although I also read all the correspondence regarding the two public hearings tonight. Thank you.
Councilor Heed is joining us online. Councilor Heed. Councilor Heed, any report? We'll take that as a no. Councilor Aubry, any report? Okay. Councilor Bordelon, communications.
First, I just wanted to thank everybody for coming out. It's great to see such a large showing of people coming out to speak in regards to the public hearing. So that's important, and I hope we can continue these efforts. As far as communication goes, the only thing that I have is I did have the opportunity to attend the Fitch High School Marching Band competition, which was Nationals, which was held in Pennsylvania this Saturday. And it was an amazing event. 15 bands participated from Virginia to New Jersey. And I was really proud of the Fitch High School Marching Band, who came in 7th out of 15. As many of you know, a lot of our marching bands have been downsized after COVID, the interest and the decrease. So we're about 27, maybe 30 band members strong, which is a huge cut from years previously. And these kids did an amazing job to bring forth and represent Groton. We were the only Connecticut team that participated in the group of 15 for the level 1A. And I couldn't be any more proud of them bringing home 7th place. And I'm hoping that we continue to grow our program and look towards looking at feeder programs where 8th graders can join marching band earlier and have it as a opportunity as an elective early on. A lot of other schools are doing such. So extremely proud of the marching band. It was an honor to be there. And a big shout out to the new band director who recently took over after a sudden separation of the previous band director, and she threw together in a matter of weeks a program that brought us to nationals to bring home 7th place. So I'm extremely proud. So just want to congratulate those kids.
Councilor Melendez.
Thank you. Nothing to report.
Councilor Zafari.
No report.
We will go back to Councilor Heed. Did you have a report, sir?
Oh, no, I guess the volume wasn't working. I have nothing to report.
And it looks like we lost Councilor Aubry, so we are at 8 councilors. And just let me know, Mr. Greeley, if she reconnects, please. Okay, communications. Let's see. Thank everybody for coming out to the forum earlier. It's nice to see everybody here for the public hearing. We'll be getting to that soon. There is one item on the agenda tonight that we are going to be taking off the agenda. That's item 5H. Is that correct, Mr. Burt? The 2021-623
Yes.
Board of Education retiree COLA request.
Correct.
And the superintendent requested that go back to the Board of Education for their consideration. Is that the understanding?
Correct.
So that's item 5H will come off of the COW, and it is item Roman numeral 2E off of the Town Council special meeting agenda. Okay? Mr. Burt, did you have communications?
Just to mention that today is the last day of the indoor mask mandate in town, so that does end tomorrow for the town of Groton, city of Groton, and city of New London. We had all coordinated together, and then with consultation with Ledgelight Health, decided it was time to end the mask mandate.
May I?
Okay. Councilor Franco.
Will the mask mandate, although it's townwide being taken off, is it still going to be required in municipal buildings?
No.
Okay, thank you.
And I just have word that Councilor Aubry is back, so we are back to 9 councilors. Technology is wonderful. All right, we are on to.
I have my hand.
Excuse me?
I have my hand.
Do you have something for Mr. Burt?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you. I just had a question. I think it's great to think that, we made it to a point where we were able to come off the mask, which is a huge effort that our community has, been very proactive about making sure we're wearing masks. But I want to know what we're thinking as a town even though we're collaborating with 2 other municipalities, as a town, we have the right to our own actions. And at what threshold would we consider, if we see a COVID spike, where would we want to start to relook at this again? So where are we at now, and where do we have to be if we need to go back into them?
I don't have the press release with me, but legislature put together some facts of where we're at right now. I'm trying to think if I went to the council or not. I'll resend it to the council, and then I can't speak off the top of my head right now.
So,
but
yeah.
I'm constantly in touch with legislature. It would be, when they think it's time to re-enter, because they are very conservative about that.
Great. It would be great to have those figures and numbers just to keep us up to date as to where we are, where we were when we decided to reenact the mask, and where we currently stand now. Thank you.
Was that included in Mr. Mansfield's email yesterday? I believe.
Yeah, I think it was, but I'll resend it. Anyway.
Okay,
But it would
great.
be great to post it on our
Thank you.
website and send it in an email and have it on the record so the community can hear it, not just in our personal emails. Thank you.
And that was done as a press release today?
Yes.
Thank you. We are on to approval of minutes 2021-779, October 26, 2021 Cal minutes. This begins on page 2 of your packet. Councilor Baumgartner, would you move acceptance of the minutes, please?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve the October 26, 2021 Cal meeting minutes. So moved.
Second, Bordelon.
Moved by Baumgartner and seconded by Bordelon. Any discussion on the minutes?
Yes.
Yes, Councilor Zepari.
Yes, on page 4, there is a vote on the approval of the minutes for the previous session. It says that I abstained. I did not abstain. I voted to approve.
Okay, so Councilor, I'm just going to repeat it for when the minutes for this meeting are being transcribed. This is page 4 of the packet, and the vote at the top of the page for approval of minutes. Councilor Zepari did not abstain. Councilor Zepari voted in favor of the minutes. Is that correct, Councilor Zepari?
That's correct.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of approval of the October 26 minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? So moved unanimously with 9 councilors. Thank you. Okay, we are on to new business, and this is item 5A, 2021-39650, Riverview Avenue Public Hearing. And this is on page 12 in your packet. And this was, the clerk is not here, so.
Do you want me to read it?
Would you like to? Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Parker. The notice of hearing is normally read by the clerk, but Councilor Parker will read it for us on page 13.
Notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Groton Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. pursuant to a resolution adopted at its meeting held on October 26, 2021. This meeting may be held at Groton Senior Center, 102 Newtown Road, and via Zoom and shown live on GMTV. Additionally, an informational session will be held beginning at 5:30 p.m. on the same day and at the same location. 1, to collect public feedback concerning a proposal for a trade of properties between the town of Groton and a private owner along Riverview Avenue in Noank, Connecticut. For additional information, please contact the town manager's office at 860-441-6630. If you wish to assess this meeting or to sign up to speak through Zoom, please email council@groton-ct.gov or call the above phone number. Dated at Groton, Connecticut, this 27th day of October, 2021, John Burt, Town Manager.
Thank you, Councilor Parker. All right, we have quite a few people signed up to speak, and what we will do is we will start with Attorney Callahan is going to give us an overview, or is Mr. Burt going to provide the overview?
Just to mention, we did have an overview session at 5:30 that much of the same information the council has had previous. It was very well attended. And that was recorded. It was broadcast live on YouTube as it happened, but it is recorded if anybody did not get a chance to view it, and you can go back and look at that. So as I mentioned at the beginning of that meeting, or at the 5:30 meeting, that, this is early stages just to get some initial input before we put any real time or money into anything. We want to gather public opinion just to see what everybody thinks. So.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Burke. So we will start the public hearing, and we'll start with the people who are in attendance this evening. So when I call your name, if you could please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record, and your remarks should be confined to this particular topic at hand, and you have 5 minutes to speak, and counselors are here to listen, and we seek your input, so thank you for attending. So first up, we have Zell Stever, followed by Elizabeth Pendy. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. There is someone online. Mr. Stever, we are going to someone online first. I apologize. Mr. Sweeney is online. Mr. Greeley, do you have Mr. Sweeney?
Yep, he's there.
Can you hear me?
We can. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. This is Attorney Bill Sweeney, 43 Broad Street, New London, Connecticut. I represent Skip Jordan and Marianne Urbanski, who are the owners of 53 Riverview Avenue. And I just want to thank the council for giving me the courtesy of speaking. I actually have another public hearing in another community tonight, and I'm actually getting ready to go into it, and I'll be very quick and very brief and allow then the members of the public who are there to speak. I just want to cover on this issue of the Riverview Avenue land swap some misunderstandings and some facts about this deal that I think it's important for the council to understand as they contemplate it. Particularly our position, the position of my clients, why this land swap is actually important to enhance public coastal access rather than negatively impact it. The town's property along the Mystic River is landlocked. It does not have any direct frontage on Riverview Avenue. And this is a fact. Our surveyor and both the town surveyor and the town's title company have confirmed this. To access the town-owned property on the Mystic River, someone has to cross over my client's property to do that. And that access way has never been properly defined and located over the last 80 to 90 years. My clients do not want to restrict public access to the water or to the town land, but we are insistent that we need to formalize that access and the parking that's needed to support it. The swap that's been put before you gives the town 1,114 square feet of land abutting the town's existing coastal property. That's room to park up to 4 vehicles on land that will actually, for the first time, be owned by the town of Groton. And it will also allow for safe and convenient access for the public to be developed to the rocky shorefront. The land that is to be acquired by the town, though, is not free. It's not a donation, and nobody should expect it to be that. My clients deserve some consideration for it. They're private property owners, and that's the basis of the swap. In return for the 1,114 square feet that would be given to the town, my clients would receive only 677 square feet back, all of which is rocky shorefront. It would be a little area that's unusable for anything, perhaps a future dock. It's not a building lot. It doesn't meet the zoning requirements as so, and it will never be used for any kind of construction of a structure. I want to point out a couple other things. Nothing in the swap that's being proposed deals with land below the mean high water line. The public, as you know, in the state of Connecticut, maintains the right to access, to travel, and to use those areas. And so if a fisherman wants to walk out beyond the mean high water line on that rocky shorefront, even in front of the land that's going to be conveyed in the swap to my clients, they're free to do so. This swap does not take away any coastal access. In fact, it enhances it because it provides a dedicated connection from Riverview Avenue with parking that's going to actually be owned by the town. That provides real value to the community. There are riparian lines that have been set in the agreement rather than assumed lines, which have often been discussed. And those lines allow for both my client and maybe even the town to install docks for the public if desired in the future. The bottom line, and I really want to make this message clear, is my client wants to work and cooperate with the town. They want to facilitate this land swap, but like any private property owner, they do have rights, and those rights have to be respected. We feel the agreement that I was able to negotiate with the town DPW department and with your town land use council is a fair compromise. It's a true give and take where both parties trade something of value and return something back in value in return. I have heard some comments that were made at the informational session from neighbors suggesting that the town should ignore the fact that my clients own the land in question, that the city, that the town should take legal action to take the property or even seize it. And from my perspective and that of my clients, that's really a ridiculous position. And we would certainly vehemently defend any such action. We're not here to be adverse. We're not here to try to create a problem. Skip and Mary Ann have negotiated in good faith to resolve this issue of access and parking. And we think we've reached a compromise that enhances the town's coastal access in return for a very small sliver of land. Again, 677 square feet, which is less than 0.01 acre.
Time is up,
land
sir.
that's no bigger than, quite frankly, people's living room. So I would ask that the town council consider the swap that's been proposed. We think it's very reasonable, and thank you for your time and attention this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Bird, is that the only one we go to? Okay. All right, so we will go to Zell Stever, followed by Elizabeth Pendy, please.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, town manager. I'm Zell Stever and I live at 81 Main Street in Groton. I have already submitted a two-page letter to the council regarding this particular proposed swap, and I will not go into reading the entire document to you. You have it before you, and it's online. But let me simply say that I'm speaking on my own behalf tonight, and I'd like to go on record opposing the requested proposed land swap between the town of Groton, Ubanski, and Jordan, trustees for the Noank Waterfront Revocable Trust for lands held for public use by the town of Groton on Riverview Avenue. Now, what was interesting tonight is that at the public meeting that was held beforehand, there was a new map that had become known to me, and I'm showing this in front of you right now. And this map shows the current situation with the town owning the property from this yellow line to this yellow line. And that's a fairly large section going out to the channel, which is out here in front. The proposal that you have before you, or one of the proposals you have before you, is to reduce that line to a smaller one, which is shown on the red lines that goes like this. Now, coastal access, frankly, has to do with how much land is available, what footage of land is available for public access. And I would, you could visually simply see that this proposal would simply reduce that and change the nature of this. If you have it the way it is now, you have much greater access potentially for putting docks out there, for fishing, for boat landings, and so forth. So I would like to end this by saying that I strongly encourage the town to do the following: not enter into the requested proposed property swap agreement, clearly mark the town-owned properties, place signs on to indicate the town-owned property is a coastal access point, and 4, clearly mark the land parcels where the public right-of-way exists. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Stever. Next is Elizabeth Pendy, followed by Skip Jordan.
I just want to state that generally I am opposed to any property exchange that would reduce public access to waterfront lands now owned by the town. Coastal access is very limited in our community. Preserving and protecting these areas must be a priority of the town.
I'm sorry, one moment, please.
Address?
Oh, and name and address for the record, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry. 83 High Street.
Thank you.
I speak for our present generation and generations to come. We can't really make plans today for tomorrow, but who knows what opportunities will present themselves for the enjoyment of our coastal waterways. We must protect as much coastal waterway as we can. Parking, in my mind, is not a priority, and that I echo Mr. Seaver's request to clearly mark the areas that are owned by the town and where we have access through Noank waterfront revocable trust property to access the waterfront. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Skip Jordan, followed by Catherine Pratt, please.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. My wife, Marianne, and I do...
Could you give your name and address?
Sorry, Skip Jordan, 34 Smith Court. Thank you for the opportunity. As I stated initially, my wife and I own the property in question and have been since 2018, trying to negotiate in good faith with the town on a boundary line agreement. It is not our intent to restrict public access or to prevent people from using that area. All we're asking for is for some consideration for being a private landowner of that area. We had the property surveyed when we bought the property, and we would like the town council to really consider the proposal on the table. It is a fair and equitable solution, I think, that prevents further potential for further litigation and costs associated with that. And I'm happy to meet with any members of the town to discuss that and have expressed that previously. I have no ill will towards this process and plan to follow it through in good faith as we have to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Catherine Pratt, followed by Rob Jordan.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Pratt, and I live at 75 Front Street in Noank. Mayor Granatowski and members of the Town Council, I am strongly opposed to the property swap suggested by Ms. Urbanski and Mr. Jordan, trustees of the Noank Waterfront Revocable Trust, which would transfer valuable public waterfront lands along Riverview Avenue to them as private owners for possible purposes of building a dock. In exchange for the public waterfront lands, Urbanski and Jordan have offered the town a parcel of land which they claim to own, but over which the public has enjoyed a documented right-of-way since circa 1905 to 1906, when the property was sold to the state of Connecticut for a lobster hatchery. After the 1938 hurricane destroyed the state lobster hatchery, in 1942, pursuant to a special act of the legislature enacted in 1941, the state conveyed the property to the town of Groton for public use, and the general public has continued to use the right-of-way from the road to these public lands without obstruction or interference ever since. Prior to this hearing, Urbanski and Jordan blocked the right-of-way across the land that they have offered to the town with a row of large rocks. The result being that cars can no longer pull in our park, and the public is discouraged from passing through to the waterfront. Their refusal to remove the rocks, despite being asked to do so by the town, and the recent obstruction of a long-time coastal access area appears to be a maneuver to persuade the town to transfer out of public ownership a large swath of valuable waterfront property which the town currently holds for the use and benefit of the public. This should not be sanctioned, encouraged, or condoned. Coastal access points are limited in Noank Village, and scarce public lands, waterfront or otherwise, should not be bartered to the detriment of the public interest. The town dock and beach at the foot of Main Street are so popular in the summer that the parking lot quickly fills up and cars must park on the surrounding streets. Not only would the requested Riverview Avenue property exchange further reduce the public's ability to fish, swim, and otherwise enjoy the waterfront, it would also potentially increase congestion at existing coastal access areas. Furthermore, it would reduce the town's access to navigable water to use for public purposes, such as, for example, building a dock of its own for public use. I therefore respectfully request that the Town Council reject the proposed property swap agreement and leave our town's treasured waterfront properties in their rightful place within the public domain to be protected and maintained for the continued quiet enjoyment of the people. It would be helpful for the town to also place signs on the areas in question on Riverview Avenue to indicate what is town-owned property, what is a designated coastal access area, and where there is a public right-of-way. Thank you for the careful attention you are giving to review this matter.
Thank you. Rob Jordan, followed by, I believe it says Emmett Murphy. And just for the people that are online, I cannot read the chat from where I'm seated, so when it is time to have you speak, Mr. Greeley will unmute you so that you'll be able to talk at that point. So we will get to you as soon as we get through the people that are here in the room. Thank you for your patience. Mr. Jordan, please.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
Property owner is Rob Jordan, property owner, 84 Central and 20 Bayberry. And I am for the proposed swap. I think as it stands right now, it seems like the land is not useful to either party, and it would be improved by the swap, and the coastal access would be improved as well. And you know, we're all smart people here. I think that the lawyers involved, the counselors involved, I think you could sit down at the table and probably figure this out in a couple of hours. And to drag this out using the town money for something like this and even talk about eminent domain or anything like that, I just think that's kind of ridiculous. So that's where I stand.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Okay, thanks.
Emmett Murphy, followed by Lori Kotfer.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Emmett Murphy, address 66 Riverview Ave. I just wanted to voice my opinion and support for the land swap. I think, to reiterate what Rob just said, the land itself right now as it sits is very unusable. It's a very challenging, rocky, dangerous area. If the swap were to take place, I think both parties can benefit greatly from it, and I would like to see that in the town. I'm new to the area, so new to Noank. Locally grew up in Stulman, but love the waterfront and love to see everyone using it. And I think ultimately that's the intended goal here, is to enjoy the water, because that's why these places are becoming so popular, because we love it. But as it is now, like I said, it's very difficult. The fishermen are really the people that I see use it the most. I see almost everyone that comes in and out of there. So, you know, to make it a safe place for people to pull in, get out, enjoy the water is only possible through doing this swap. And I hope you take all the details into consideration. There's a lot of stuff talked about, a lot of small things that definitely play a part in it. And if you walk down there, you can get a better feel for it if you haven't been there yet. But Skip and Mary Ann are very trustworthy people, and I really honestly think they're trying to do the best thing here for the public, as well as protect their own properties. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori Kotfer, followed by Andrew Gillin.
I'm Lori Kotfer. I crossed my name off, so.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, thank you.
You're welcome. Andrew Gillin, followed by Stephen Stulman.
Andrew Gillin, 18 William Street. First, I appreciate the chance to speak, and first thing I'd like to do is say thank you to the town manager for being so communicative through this process and responsive. It's been a big help. Appreciate it. I come from this from kind of a historic perspective, maybe, because my gray hair is that historic, because I grew up a stone's throw from this property and spent a lot of great hours at this property with the Rathbun family and the kids. And what really left an impression on me about this particular site was how frequently it was used for people to come fishing and spend the day. What was interesting about these people, they were often from outside the fire district. They came from long distances. They were able to access this waterfront for the purposes I just mentioned. And that has been an ongoing repeated process up to the present. And I think what's very important about this is that we talk about public access. Well, public access means the whole public. And that means people able to get there and access it, which really means parking. If there's no parking, it's still public access and it's great. But it really ends up benefiting the residents and the local community, which is wonderful too. But this particular site, I think, is one of the few places the fire district and the town can actually say we're inclusive, that there are people from different backgrounds, from different places that get to come and enjoy the waterfront, like the rest of us did. I grew up just a stone's throw from here, as I said, and I've been privileged to be able to stay in Noank and enjoy the waterfront, and I still get to see that spot all the time. It would be sad. It would be kind of tragic if that access to the general public went away. I think that is true public access. You can measure quality and quantity. Sure, the quantity is the long stretch of Rocky Beach, but the quality is how many people can access it and when. And I think that's something that really should be considered. One of the things I kind of have an issue with, I don't understand the arbitrary configuration of the riparian lines. There's something up with that. It makes no sense. Not a sea lawyer, but having been experienced with waterfront projects, the perpendicular riparian lines that were mentioned in the workshop are more standard and more conventional. That really needs to be looked at. There could be unintended consequences if those are accepted as part of a deal. In other words, if a dock were built slightly to the north, it could extend out in front of that public space, basically restricting it. If people think that you can park on the road, that doesn't work out. They tried, some intrepid fishermen tried this summer, and it basically blocks off the road. There'll be no parking signs there. So you really can't park alongside the stones or the road because the fire trucks won't get through, so you're back to zero again. So please look at those riparian lines again. I see no reason the town shouldn't consider this long term. They want to keep your options open. You may someday want a structure there, you might not, but you need to have that unimpeded, guaranteed access to the deep river to really make it waterfront public access. And that's what I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Stephen Stulman, followed by Nelson Brown.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Thank you. I live at 48 Riverview Avenue.
Thank you, sir.
Directly in front of that parcel that's of question. It's undisputed, I believe, by everybody here that that property that is being discussed, that area that's along Riverview Avenue, is owned by Skip Jordan. The proposal that he has made to you all appears to me to be extremely reasonable. The swap which he proposes is to give you, or the town of Groton, full access to that waterfront. Right now it's cut off by private property. He's willing to provide you with full access and parking to that waterfront property in exchange for a small piece of land which is really unusable. It is treacherous, it is steep, it is very rocky, It has a telephone pole and an electrical vault on that property that he would like to get in exchange. To think that this town would consider taking that land from an owner through adverse possession is unconscionable. I think that is so wrong by so many ways. I mean, that whole law is a common law that comes from England to prevent landowners from acquiring more land than they can farm or they can manage. This is not that at all. This is land, this is a small strip of land that is owned by these people. And I don't believe it's in our purview to take it from anybody. The exchange is fair, and these people are due compensation for that land. They don't want to prevent the use of it in any way. So why not consider it? And everybody is a winner. The town is a winner, and the property owners are a winner. They have access to the water, and you have access to parking. You have access to that land. Right now, the property that the town owns is landlocked. You can only access it from the water. There is no access to that waterfront from the road. There is no way to get there other than to pass over their property. Please consider this proposal. It's rational, it's logical, and it's fair. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nelson Brown, followed by Stephen Spellman.
That was me.
I'm sorry?
That was him.
Nelson Brown.
Nelson Brown and then Stephen Spellman. I have two different names. You're Mr. Stulman, correct? The gentleman that just spoke is Mr. Stulman. Yes. And then you're Mr. Brown.
I am.
And then we have Mr. Spellman. Thank you, sir. You have the floor.
Spellman. My name is Nelson Brown, 18 Sachem Road. I thank you for the opportunity to speak. Some of what I'm going to say has already been mentioned, so I'll be brief, but I guess I'd like to start by echoing Mr. Gillin's comments regarding the riparian lines. Probably the most important thing involved in this whole situation. And there could be huge ramifications depending on where those lines are drawn. I stand here opposed to this swap. The ability for the public and the town of Groton to have as much public coastal access as possible is crucial because, as everyone knows, there's very little of it, and we're not making any more of it. So I've spoken before you before that for a number of years, decades, people have used that parcel of land, and most of them are not people that live in Noank. People who live in Noank that want to go down there walk down there. They don't need to park there. So the people that are utilizing this area are many people from far away, but also City of Groton, Mystic, Pequannock Bridge, Center Groton. I see people from all over Groton that come there and utilize it. So even though we're not talking about eliminating the whole thing, the slivers, if you will, they're a little bit more than slivers that are being asked to be given away for access through a piece of property that has a deeded right-of-way. So there is a way to get to the waterfront town's land because the deed states that there's a right-of-way to that. So it's not, it's private property, but there's a deeded right-of-way. So since 1942, when the state deeded this land to the town some 79 years ago, it's been the way it's been until April of this year, when the rocks went up, the public was excluded from parking there. I think it's fortunate that some people have continued to try to use that property, even though they can no longer park there.
but I just think that this is a real slippery slope, and I find it interesting that both the homeowner and his attorney in their presentation mentioned litigation. So, you know, if that, maybe that's what we're in for, I don't know. But please take serious consideration in not giving away this coastal land. And if we have to leave it the way it is now, and the rocks stay there and there's no parking available, that's better. That's a better option in most people's minds than just passing this over. Because there's no question, depending on where the riparian line is, that 15 minutes after this is decided, if it's swapped, Gwenmore Marino will be there driving pilings. So please consider that really, really strongly, because Mr. Gillin is right. It's a crucial piece of this whole puzzle. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can continue having this not big, but very precious piece of public land, public coastal land, still available for the public. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Stephen Spellman, followed by David Campbell.
Do you have his address? The last one.
Excuse me?
The address from the last.
Mr. Brown is 18 Sachem Road in Groton.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Stephen Spellman, and I live at 32 Cedar Lane in Noank. I came here tonight to oppose this proposed land swap. And during the informational hearing, there were a number of issues raised that would suggest that even if you wanted to do this, there are jumps and hurdles that would need to be passed through in order to make it happen. There's been a number of speakers who have mentioned the deed from the state of Connecticut, which made this land for public use. Your counselor suggested that, well, it's possible to get around that by going to the Attorney General with the Cypre doctrine, that it's sort of like public use by providing a couple parking spaces or something. So maybe you got to get the Attorney General involved. There's been discussion of creation of a more non-conforming lot where planning and zoning has got to get involved. The RTM needs to get involved. And I think all of you are aware, whenever you want to do anything on the coast, you have to talk to DEP if you want to build something very small. And I'm sure with coastal area management, if you want to give away public land, I would hope that the state of Connecticut is not going to watch and sit by idly when that happens. So these are all the hurdles that you would have to jump through. But to me, the more important question is, why would you want to do this? Because what are you getting in exchange? You're getting the title to a property that the public already has a right to pass over. Now, there's been discussion about, well, you don't have parking. Well, this week, with this fine weather, I was at Bluff Point, and watching the fishermen on their bicycles with their poles in the back, getting to the fishing spots. There's public parking at the town dock on Main Street. There's plenty of ways to get there without having to park there. So it's a discussion of giving away waterfront access in exchange for getting title to something that you already have the right to pass over. There's been sort of a bogeyman raised of adverse possession, that the town is going to do something awful in terms of taking title to this property. I don't think that's even on the table in discussion. What's talked about is a prescriptive easement. That is not title to the property. That's the right to pass over the property. And according to everyone, I'm a newcomer to Noank, having moved here in 2012. But people that have been here for hundreds of years indicate that that property has been in that use with people traveling over it for that period of time. So clearly, it would not be difficult to show the use necessary for a prescriptive easement. The previous speakers who have suggested that signage be utilized, I think, is a great idea. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. David Campbell, followed by Tom Harrington.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to us all. My name is David Campbell. I live at 26 Cove Street in Noank. And I'm opposed to the swapping that's been proposed. The property now owned, some of this is repeating, I know, but the property now owned by the town of Groton was deeded to the town of Groton by the state of Connecticut in 1942 it contains the words "for public use." I knew John Rathman and I knew Ben Rathman. And many times in discussions with other people, they would often reiterate that the fact that that corner is public property. There's been no restrictions by any former owner of the so-called private property parcels to restrict people from walking across, driving across, or parking there. It's been going on for years and years. And those people are generally people from out of town, and that's been mentioned before too. And these people are people that they have a fishing pole, they don't have money for a boat, there's very little access for fishing in deep water in the town of Groton, and that's one spot that they could come to. And they seem to show up there year after year, and in fact, John Rathman, the former owner of that property, would encourage people when he saw them coming. I don't think we have to do an awful lot with that property. We have a title to part of it, and I'm still not convinced that we've surveyed that property right, because we were down there the other day and we see remains of a foundation that extend further past the line that the town has drawn in their survey. So it appears to me anyway that the lobster hatchery there was further back towards the road, and we may own more property than you think. I don't like the idea of any kind of restrictions on that property. The town in the past has taken some of these deeds and gone up to Hartford and had the wording of the deeds changed to in some cases to the benefit of the town. That happened with the Fort Hill Annex property and the police station. That happened with the Merritt property with the school. So it's disturbing that we're sort of going along now and trying to change the meaning of for public use on a deed to some other meaning that we can go out and do trading and swapping. I also believe, because I've been in zoning since approximately 1974 in Noank, in some way or another, the swapping of these parcels would create new substandard non-conforming lots. A conforming lot is 20,000 square feet in Noank, and I won't bore you with the reasons for that, but it is 20,000 square feet. Anything under that, if you create a lot, it's illegal.
You have 1 minute, sir.
If you would go to the Noank Zoning Board of Appeals and appeal that decision that the zoning enforcement officer would have to make, then I don't think there's a hardship here for the appeal to be processed. So I encourage the town to not enter into this swap, to clearly mark that property in the future, and to place signs there that say that that property is public property, and we do have a means of access, a right-of-way across private property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Tom Harrington, followed by Mary Ellen Freeman.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors. My name is Tom Harrington. My address is 5 Sea Meadows Lane, and that's in Waterford. I am the public that a lot of people preceding me had spoke about that utilize that property down there. I know the property well, and just recently I've been there, but and I know the situation down there. I'm not here to talk about technicals relative to riparian rights or other issues there, but I'm just a couple of observations, all right? And in the public hearing earlier, it was referred to that there could be an option for legal proceedings by the town to take adverse possession of that property. I just want to say I just find that appalling. I don't think it's in anybody's best interest if that would happen. Okay, that's number one. Number two, I formerly served on the Zoning Board of Appeals in New London, so I kind of know the issues, and hardship was brought up. I don't think this is a hardship case here, but I think what I found in the past is that a common sense approach basically is what wins out, and I think that's what we have here. And I think that a mutual benefit for and a solution to this whole issue for both parties if in fact there was a land swap. So I am in favor of a land swap. I think it could be done, and I think it would every party would be happy, and it would save the town and the owners time, cost, and that's pretty much where I stand. So I think a land swap is in the best interest of all parties right now. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I have Mary Ellen Freeman, followed by Pete Freeman. And again, if you state your name and address for the record, please. Thank you.
Sure. Mary Ellen Freeman. I live at 17 Tanglewood Drive in Preston. And as with the gentleman before me, I'm the public. And it just seems like you should be, number one, this is a private property that people have been parking there, but that doesn't mean that they had the right to park there. They were given the right to park there. They're not being given the right now because the owners may be concerned about liability. They could be concerned about a bunch of things, and that's in their prerogative because it is their property. So the fact that they have put the rocks there so people cannot park there, I think, is in their best interest to make sure that they are being protected. As far as access, I think if you do the swap, which I am in favor of, you are giving away a very small portion of coastline that is rocky, that is really not very usable, and therefore we would be getting the property back so that you could have parking there, so that people that don't live right there, the people that live there are not the ones that want to access that piece of land. It's the people that don't live there that would like to access public property, have waterway access, and right now, without parking there, they can't. And it's not the homeowner's fault that people are not being allowed to park there. That's their prerogative. It is their property. I think it would be in the town and the state and the rest of our public best interest to do the swap so that people could have access to that waterway, could park there, and then they are on town property so that there's no issue if something happens on that property while you're easing through or while you were parking there on somebody else's property if something happened. It just seems like it's in the best interest of the town and the private owner. If we do the swap, you're not losing a whole lot of water space that is usable because it's just a small little rocky cropping, but it gives you the parking so that you have access to the waterway that's in front of it so that people can continue to enjoy it and have access to the water and come and fish and do what they want to do without there being any kind of an issue. So I think, as people have said before, I think it's a win-win. I think the town and the homeowners could come to an agreement logically without a lot of cost to the town, a lot of cost to the owner as far as litigation, if that's what it actually came to. And I think there's no reason not to take it into consideration. So thank you.
Thank you. Pete Freeman, followed by Mary Kirby.
My wife has addressed all the points I was going to bring up, so I will decline to speak.
Are you Mr. Freeman?
Happy. Yeah.
Thank you. Mary Kirby, followed by Sloan Rankin Keck.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Mary Kirby, and I live at 85 Daniel Brown Drive in Mystic, Connecticut. And basically, I am the public too. And I used to live in Noank, and that property. So I've observed it for many, many years. I'm not really sure whether, right at this moment, whether I'm for or against a land swap. I'm not sure the impact of the riparian rights, although people here that are seem to be expressing a huge interest in that, so I would agree with signage. And looking at those riparian rights, there's a few things that have been said tonight that I don't find completely correct, having been there 27 years. I used to park there every year, and Skip's been very generous about offering to let me park in his property, but the fishermen that go there generally, I gotta say, don't speak English. Some of them are from Norwich and other places. I think they feel very put out at this point about, I did see them try to park there, and that doesn't work out very well. It does block the road. And I don't think that they know that they can park someplace else and walk down there. There are I fish a lot. There are very few places to fish in Noank. Obviously, the shipyard owners don't want them in there. They make a mess. There's liability issues. The rocks, they're rocks. They're not dangerous. I've never seen none of those fishermen fall. The kids do climb over and go to the north, right in front there. So if the land swap happens, then the parking will be there. If the land swap doesn't happen, like I've done all summer, I park someplace else and walk to my boat. I don't think that they know they can do that, and I'm sorry to see them gone, because one guy expressed to me as best as he could, and I think I understood him, that he used to go there with his grandfather when he was a child. So I think the signage is very, very important. Huge, big sign saying you can go here, you can cross here, and you can continue to fish. I'm very concerned about them and me, because I'm obviously got a vested interest, but I'm sure the rocks aren't in that much of the way as the appearance that you can't go there. And that's actually appeared to me all summer long. I was like, I know Skip, and I've talked to Emmett and Mary Ann. I know who they are, so I didn't know whether I could actually cross the land because it was private, because it's up in the air, or whether there was an easement that I could cross the land because I've been doing it for 27 years. I didn't know. So the information here tonight has been good, but I would strongly encourage, if the land swap doesn't happen, signage, signage, signage. They need to know. And that's it. Thank you.
Sloan, Rankin, Keck, followed by Paul Bates.
Good evening. Sloan Rankin Keck, 25 Spring Street, Noank. I'd like to say I've learned a lot tonight with the public information. And I have used this property my entire life, so I was surprised to see the boulders there blocking it. And I'm a little bit surprised to hearing the owner say they would like to swap, but they want the public to have access. Well, we're all the public, and I believe the priority is to just establish the right-of-way. I don't believe parking is important. I'd like to see the width and breadth of the public access, which is already owned by the town, maintained with the riparian rights that are established normally. And I say that from experience of being on the Harbor Management Commission for many, many, many years, where we discuss riparian rights. So that would maintain that the town could use that property. And access, in terms of access, if you have to purchase a wider piece to access it, though, yeah, and establish it. That's another consideration that hasn't been brought up tonight. But there's certainly more considerations than just establishing it, and how wide and how you compromise with the owner that does have the right to the property as well. I don't believe parking is entirely important. We have a public access just around the corner, if you're all aware, with a long stair that goes all the way down. There's no parking there, and people park nearby, just as they have in front of these rocks that were put there. So I'd like to say I do oppose a swap, and I do propose that you consider and mark how it's accessed. Thank you for allowing public speech. Good night.
Good night. Let's see. Paul Bates, followed by Alyssa Wright.
Paul Bates, 47 Church Street. Mayor, members of the council, thank you very much for giving us the opportunity to speak tonight. I'd like to thank Town Manager Burt for taking the time to have the information session previous to this. Primarily, I'd like to speak to the process. Most of us came tonight to try to find out what's going on. Several times when it came up at previous town council meetings, the council went into executive session. Always very frustrating for the public when that happens and we don't know what's going on behind closed doors. The other very frustrating thing is we had the town attorney here tonight, and we asked him some, seemed like pretty straightforward questions, such as what does public use mean in the deed? Was a non-conforming lot? What does a right-of-way mean? And he didn't give us any good, clear, straightforward answers, which is all that we're really looking for. The people have said that the town manager told them that of the 2 surveys done, they were within a foot, and that was pretty good. Well, if you're all familiar with an 8-2 survey, a foot is as good as a mile, and it doesn't count for anything. Catherine Rathman, whose parents grew up there, and parents lived across the street, and her uncle lived next door, has a quitclaim deed that her uncle gave her parents for land, and on all these drawings is shown as belonging to the Jordans and the Urbanskys. Sounds like there's a good chance that we didn't get our money's worth from the title searcher. One thing that hasn't been talked about is where was the road in 1907? It's drawn in very nicely now. Catherine has a engineered drawing of the proposed road in 1922, which shows a portion of the curved road actually touching the line of the property that the state gave to the town. When you do have a chance to look at the proposed riparian line, please look closely at the proposed northern line. Any professional politician would be enamored with the apparent gerrymandering of that line. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Bates. Alyssa Wright? Alyssa Wright? Oh. And following Ms. Wright, we'll be going to the people that are online with us. Mr. Pendy and then Mr. Fisher, I believe, are both with us, but we'll hear from Alyssa Wright first, please.
Good evening. My name is Alyssa Wright, and I live at 59 Main Street in Noank. And Mayor Granatowski and members of the council, I thank you for the opportunity to comment in response to your request for public feedback concerning this proposed swap. The town-owned property at issue was the site of the original State of Connecticut Lobster Hatchery, which was established by a special act of the legislature in 1905, and monies appropriated for the building and the maintenance of that hatchery. After the 1938 hurricane, which destroyed the former hatchery, it moved to a new location. And in 1942, again, under the provisions of a special act of the legislature, the state conveyed that former hatchery property to the town of Groton, specifically for public use. This has been mentioned, and I won't repeat the details, and we can give you copies of the deeds if you don't already have, and the public acts and the deeds if you don't already have them. But pursuant to the special act of the legislature authorizing the state to convey the property to the town of Groton, the quitclaim deed from the state to the town also, as does the special act, provide that the property is being conveyed to the town of Groton specifically for public use. So I suggest to you that the town of Groton has received and holds these lands in trust for the use and enjoyment of the general public, both under the terms of the special act in 1941, authorizing the conveyance, and under the deed from the state to the town implementing that conveyance. Since that time, to the best of my knowledge, the public has enjoyed continuous access from the road across an established right-of-way over neighboring property to these valuable town-owned public waterfront lands, enabling the public to use and enjoy this area of great scenic beauty together with associated rights to the riparian areas. This access by the public has been over a right-of-way that was deeded to the state when the state purchased the property for the hatchery in 1905, and the right-of-way was deeded a year later. I think it is interesting what Paul Bates has noted, that the right-of-way is from the road to the state property across private land, but we do not know where the road was located at that time. And it would be interesting to try and reconstruct from perhaps old town meeting notes.
You have 1 minute.
Where that road was. As I said, this access has been open, visible, and uninterrupted, certainly during my lifetime. I think that the requested land swap appears to involve the transfer of these public trust land in public use out of public ownership and into private hands. And as such, I think it would be contrary to the express terms of the special act in 1941 authorizing the transfer and the deed of conveyance, and would only be possible to do if the town were to apply to a court to exercise its powers under the doctrine of Cypre.
And your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Greeley, on the list of speakers at home, I have Stephen Pendy followed by Fred Fisher. Are either gentlemen with us?
Stephen Pendy, yes.
Mr. Pendy, you have the floor, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. If you could state your name and address for the record.
Yes. I'm Stephen Pendy. My address is 83 High Street in Nowak. And I thank you for the opportunity to speak, and since it's late, I'll keep my comments brief. I am opposed to the proposed land swap and do not believe that it is in the public interest. The previous informational public session clearly showed that basic research has not been completed on the history of land use, both deeded as well as the easements. In this case, the devil is very much in the details. Town coastal land is extremely limited. Until now, the town has failed to really maximize the potential for public use of this coastal property at Riverview Avenue. This coastal land must remain in the public domain so the next generation, if not this one, can legally and creatively manage it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pendy. Next is Fred Fisher. Is Mr. Fisher with us? Mr. Fisher?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Could you state your name and address for the record, sir?
Yes, Frederick Fisher, 26 Main Street in Nowak. I am opposed to the land swap idea, and I'm in favor of reasonable signage at that site, particularly from what I've heard tonight of the history of the way that that space has been used. The land swap idea does not measure up, and everything will get better if proper signage is placed on the site. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Next on the list is Peter King. Is Mr. King with us?
I do not see him.
No? Okay. Michael Sorotnik. Is Mr. Sorotnik with us?
Don't see him either.
Thank you. Ron Bissick.
Yes.
Mr. Bissick, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Ron Bissick, 25 Palmer Court in Nowak, Connecticut. I've been listening closely to all the comments tonight, and I'm thinking back on what I had heard about the informational session. And it just seems to me that at the time, the town had acknowledged that Skip and Mary Ann owned their portion of the property under discussion and had been working in good faith with the town to try and reach an agreement on this issue for quite some time now. The resolution gave the town 1,100 odd square feet for 677 in return, which seems to me, just purely from an equitable trade situation, to be in the town's favor. The proposed agreement that was provided benefits, in my view, both parties and avoids the potential of unnecessary costs associated with taking this thing a lot further. I'm not really in favor of seizing the property legally owned by others through adverse possession or any other means without some kind of compensation. And I might add that I own what I thought was Zero Riverview as well, which is the property adjacent to what used to be called the Rathbun Beach, the vacant piece of land down at the bottom of Snake Hill. And several years ago, the town of Groton came to me and needed an easement to maintain the wall that holds up the road that we all walk up or drive up, which is pretty important. I think you'd agree. And we also wanted to repair the railing. There was an old railing there, and now there's guardrails. What was really interesting to me, and I've been following some of this conversation tonight about where the road was or is that there was no record of that road being conveyed to the town. And in fact, what the town of Groton thought, at least the engineers, is that that particular road was a footpath and then eventually just became a road, right? So, rather than fight town hall, as they say, I was more than glad to grant the easement and work with the town of Groton to ensure that wall stayed in place. I'm in favor of the land swap. I think it's fair. I think it makes some sense. I might add that, some signs would be fine as well. I'm finished.
Nope. Thank you, sir. Kristen Earls. Is Ms. Earls with us?
She is.
You have the floor, ma'am.
Yep. Thank you to the council and the town manager. Thanks for the opportunity to comment this evening. My name is Kristen Earls, and I live at 144 Brook Street in Groton. And I just wish to state for the record that I'm aligned with fellow Groton neighbors who've spoken out against the proposed land swap and in support of keeping public coastal access public in this case. Speaking as a relatively new resident, 6 years young, I suppose, I wish to share just 2 brief points. I know it's late. First, it may seem that the small parcel of coast in a small village in our larger town in a small state isn't meaningful to anyone but those who live nearby and experience the place most regularly. But as many have mentioned here this evening, and as anyone who grew up as kids searching out small streams to play in, who found a secret fishing spot, or who left their city or town apartment to find a parking space to walk or bike to a swimming hole, will attest, small places can have outsized impacts. There's a reason why so many tonight, immediate neighbors and beyond, speak so affectionately about these parcels, and reason that other neighbors have written emails and letters on their behalf, even though they've never set foot on it. Today, with digital media, Google Maps guiding those everywhere, regionally and otherwise, to these pocket parks that can be found by more and more people. Indeed, the pandemic highlighted the value and meaning of access to nature, especially access to the water, for the families, young people, multi-generational visitors and residents who flock to our town dock, Eastern Point Beach, so many of our diverse public points of shoreline access this past year. Additionally, these smaller spots are free of any charge, save the effort it takes to discover and get to them. As many have noted this evening, those utilizing these spots are a wonderfully diverse group, only increased and boosted in the past year. If inclusion and quality of life are values of Groton, and for regional visitors we welcome to utilize our resources, then those values might be applied to smaller, beloved public spaces as well as to the larger ones. The discovery, the effort to find and arrive at spontaneous community moments or features of intimate environments that are worth preserving for those reasons. Secondly, and sort of lastly, as a couple exploring where in the Northeast to settle, these details matter tremendously. I remember a raw April day exploring the area and driving up or down precariously Riverview Avenue and seeing the coastal access sign along Snake Hill. We were impressed and instantly understood the values of the Groton community to preserve such a view, waterfront, and land accessible and promoted as such for everyone. A final note, I think in agreement to others who spoke this evening, the property owner's attorney has made a strategic argument that underscores the proposed swap's value as relates to parking. I would add my voice to those tonight, and as someone who lives outside of the village and so relies on other transport to access that area. Certainly parking is an issue in the larger area, but these parcels can easily be accessed by bike, foot, boat, skateboard, and car with parking at the town dock. This point is functional but not meaningful in my opinion. Because of these and other points, I ask the town to not enter into the proposed swap, clearly mark the town-owned property, and place signs to indicate the town-owned property is publicly owned and is a coastal access point. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Lynn Marshall. Is Lynn Marshall with us, Mr. Greeley?
I do not see her.
Okay. So that's everyone who has signed up to... Oh, I'm sorry. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you.
Lynn Marshall, 118 Pearl Street. And I agree with those who have said that our coastal access is really precious. And once we give it up, we won't be able to afford to purchase it again. So even though it's not being well used now, doesn't mean that it won't be in the future, and I agree with that. And if I had to trade between that potential future use and between parking, I would give up the parking. But I don't know if it's necessary to give up the parking. I obviously do have access to get to that coastal property. But still, if it's important for people from out of town to have the parking there, then I really think that the town should consider purchasing that from the current owners. I'm very uncomfortable with changing the riparian rights. I don't know what all the implications of that are. But keeping that space wide open for future public use at first blush seems really important to me. And I thank you for the informational meeting tonight. That was really, really helpful. And thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Okay. So that is everyone who has signed up to speak. Is there anyone here who has not signed up that wished to speak on Riverview Avenue? Anyone else here who wished to speak on Riverview Avenue? I can't see over the podium because I'm short. I don't see anything back there. Okay. All right, that looks like that's it. So then we will close out the hearing on Riverview Avenue, and we are on to item 5B, which is 2021-7042, Cannabis Municipal Authority Public Hearing. This is page 14. Thank you all for coming out. We appreciate hearing from you. This is page 14, and I believe there is a call. And Councilor,
Stay for cannabis.
Councilor Franco, will you read the call as soon as? There's only one person signed up. So. Oh. Okay. Councilor Franco, would you read the call for the Cannabis Municipal Public Hearing?
Notice is hereby given that the Groton Town Council will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, November 9th at 6:30 p.m. pursuant to a resolution adopted at its meeting held on November 3rd, 2021. This meeting may be held at the Groton Senior Center, 102 Newtown Road, and via Zoom and shown live on GMTV. To collect public feedback concerning a potential prohibition of smoking or vaping of cannabis on public municipal lands. For additional information, please contact the Town Manager's Office at 860-441-6630. If you wish to receive this meeting or to sign up to speak through Zoom, please email council@groton-ct.gov or call the above phone number, dated at Groton, Connecticut, this 3rd day of November 2021. John Burt, Town Manager.
Thank you. So we have one person signed up to speak for the public hearing in person and one online. So speaker? Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. Do you want an intro?
It's up to you.
Our attorney Duggan is here. Would you like to just briefly introduce this?
Sure. In brief, the statute legalizing recreational use of cannabis became effective July 1. Certain sections of the statute address a municipality's ability to regulate the production and sale of cannabis. Just to be clear, these sections are not at issue in this public hearing. Likewise, other provisions of the statute already prohibit the smoking of cannabis in schools or on school grounds, as well as inside municipal buildings and within the 25-foot area around such buildings. These sections as well are not at issue in this public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to address another section of the statute that provides municipalities with the authority to regulate the burning of a lighted tobacco or cannabis cigarette, cigar, pipe, or similar device, and/or the use or consumption of cannabis in areas that are municipally owned or under the control of the municipality. Municipally owned or controlled property includes, for example, sidewalks, parks, beaches, municipal land, and buildings, etc. Under this section of the statute, the town may ban or otherwise regulate the smoking and/or consumption of cannabis only on town-owned or controlled property. The town council has indicated that it is not considering a prohibition on the consumption of cannabis, such as in brownies or edibles. The town is exploring its options to regulate smoking or vaping cannabis. For example, the town could ban smoking and vaping on all town-owned or controlled property, or the town could ban smoking in only certain areas. The town cannot ban or regulate smoking and/or consumption in an individual's own property or home. So while the statute is quite extensive, this public hearing specifically is to collect public feedback only as to the town's potential prohibition or ban of smoking or vaping of cannabis on some or all of town-owned municipal or controlled properties.
Thank you, Attorney Duggan, for clarifying. So the first to speak is Carolyn Wilson.
Good evening, everybody. Carolyn Wilson, 1140 Ocean Avenue, New London, and I am the coordinator for the Groton Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention. I'd like to thank you all for having this public hearing. I'm here, obviously, in reference to the possible prohibition of cannabis use on municipal lands. I think all of you pretty much know me, but for those who are tuning in or going to watch the replay, I am the coordinator for GASP, Groton Alliance for Substance Abuse Prevention, and we have been serving as the local prevention council for Groton for 22 years. I am pleased to hear that this was brought up, and I have been tuning into the preliminary discussions, and I'm glad to be a resource on this topic. I'd like to thank this council for their consideration, and as the new council is seated in the near future, I hope they too will consider GASP as a resource on substance use related issues, especially when it comes to prevention. As you know, many towns are making decisions about cannabis right now, and I understand that there is no ordinance on the table right now, but one may develop soon. I also understand that tobacco and nicotine have come on into the discussion as well. There are two themes that come up in some of the literature when it comes to these issues. One is environmental strategies for prevention, obviously, but there's also the concept of non-smokers' rights and health considerations. There are two great resources that are available out there, and one is the Public Health Law Center, and another one is the American Non-Smokers' Rights Foundation. But what I'm really here to talk about today is environmental strategies for prevention, such as creating or modifying policies that are impactful for a number of reasons. First of all, they don't cost any money. The policy is also sustainable, and they last without the presence of grant funding, which is very important. Third, policies have the ability to impact entire groups of people, in this case, create community and population level change. The vision with policy is to positively impact the most amount of people for the longest amount of time, and as an added bonus, the least amount of money. Groton has historically been proactive with prevention policy, showing early and effective support for things like the social host law and banning tobacco vending machines, policies that the state later adopted. This time, things are a little bit different, and the state moved first, leaving the towns to deliberate and act. In prevention, we are charged with doing the most good for the most people, and I understand that this conversation will likely continue, and I will be following that closely. We have an opportunity to implement strong prevention science-informed policies for our community now and in the near future. Now, as always, it's an honor and a privilege to serve Groton, and I thank you for your time and attention and thoughtful consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And online, Faith Claspel, I believe, is with us.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, you have the floor.
Thank you. My name is Faith Claspel, and I live at 151 Oslo Street in Mystic. And I've been a Groton resident for 11 years this month. I'd like to take this opportunity to strongly urge the town to prohibit the smoking or vaping of cannabis on public municipal lands in Groton. And I make this request as someone with 19 years of sobriety next month, as a mother of a sophomore at Fitch and a 5th grader at Northeast Academy, as a woman who works in the field of recovery, and as someone who has much interaction with adults in various stages of drug and alcohol recovery in Groton. So I will try to share my opinion as concisely as possible. Allowing the smoking or vaping of cannabis on municipal land in Groton would not benefit our population's physical or mental health, especially that of the youth of Groton. Studies show secondhand cannabis smoke does affect those in close proximity, and although smokers have the ability to do so on private property, it's something that should be voluntary and should be for adults only. My educational background is primarily in therapeutic recreation, and it concerns me that the healthy leisure pursuits that residents and families of Groton enjoy, whether they're in recovery or not, could be negatively affected by others' use of cannabis in those places if it's through vaping or smoking. There need to be places people can go to enjoy recreation and the quality of life that accompanies it without being involuntarily exposed to substances being smoked or vaped by others. It's those very activities that help many people maintain their recovery and enjoy the full life they've worked very hard for. Lastly, as a member of GASP, which Carolyn just shared about, I sincerely hope the town takes the physical and mental wellness and health of our youth into consideration by prohibiting the smoking or vaping of cannabis on public municipal lands in Groton. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Klospel. That is everyone who has signed up. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak on the cannabis issue? Okay, with that then, we will close that public hearing. And at this time, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. It's 8:03, so we'll recess until 8:08, please. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Great, thank you. We are back from recess. It is 8:10, and we are on to item 2021-761, Board of Ed General Education Association Collective Bargaining Agreement. This is on page 16 in your packet, and no motion is required for this agenda item, but Superintendent Austin is with us. So Superintendent Austin, if you'd like to speak to this item.
I'd be happy to, and I see that our board chair is here too, Kim Shepherdson-Watson. And I'm very pleased that we've reached a settlement with our Groton Education Association, which is our union for teachers, with a new contract that goes 4 years. So it was really, truly a very collaborative effort. I want to especially thank our Board of Ed and Groton Public Schools committee that did the negotiation, and a special shout out to Counselor Juliet Parker for joining us in all of this. So very truly grateful. I'm sorry, it was ratified last week by the Groton Education Association. It went to the board last night and was unanimously approved. This morning I sent information that was kind of a 2-page from the attorney memorandum that kind of outlined really the changes that were made. And I don't know if the counselors really got that, but I do have it on my screen that I could share with people to kind of outline what the contract has in it.
Was that from Attorney Dugas?
Yes.
Yes, we have that. Thank you very much.
Do you need me to show it on the screen, or you're able to follow along, or?
I think we all have it, correct? Does everyone have a copy at their seat? Yes? I think we're fine, thank you.
So it's really broken down into, I think, about 3 parts. We have the wages, which I can kind of review with you, the insurance, and also other articles that we reviewed. So I'd like to start with the wages. We really negotiated for each of the 4 years around 3%. They broke it out, teachers have steps that they, graduate through as they become more tenured. And there's a top step that we look at as well. So typically teachers go through steps. The top step may receive something different than those who are, less senior. So if you look at 2022 to 2023, there was a 1.45% increase to the top step, and just a 0.5% general wage increase to the remaining steps, but they also did rise up their step. So the total cost of that when they did the averaging was a 3.1%. The following year, very similar at a 3.12%. Then the third year, it was a 1.35 increase at the top step, and still the 0.5 with the for the general wage increase for the remaining steps plus their steps. And then the fourth year, down to 1.35 general wage increase of all steps, and teachers not at the top step advanced 1 step. So the total cost there was 2.98%. And there are some efficiencies when you're able to negotiate a contract for 4 years rather than 3 years. It was a very collaborative process. We really worked together and used data to support decision-making. So both attorneys used data from across the state and in this region to see what were typical increases. In the insurance area, we looked at the cost share, and the teachers really are at one of the top cost shares compared to other unions. So starting with, they're currently at 20% that they support in their insurance. 2022, 2023 will be 20.5. It then bumps up a whole percentage the following year to 21.5. Another 0.5% at 22%, and then a 22.5%. So, they are supporting their own health insurance in that way with their cost share. We also added some prior authorization, which is really a benefit to the board and to the town for those high-cost diagnostics, which are the CAT scans, MRIs, PET scans, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. So I think that's just, taking great care in our healthcare and making sure that we're, doing due diligence to have the right procedures in place. We also took out outdated language like the Cadillac tax, which is no longer necessary. And then if you flip the page to other, there are several articles that were in the current contract that changed a bit. So we actually did allow for up to 2 weeks of sick leave to be used following a birth or adoption of a child, which was something that GEA really wanted to recognize, to give mothers and fathers the opportunity to be with their young infants. Article 6, Section L, it looks like, sorry. We deleted language regarding sabbatical leaves. We no longer really have seen that that's something that we're doing, and there's an extra cost to that, so we were able to eliminate that language. The next article, 7B, we deleted language requiring the board to provide for the defense of a teacher arrested in connection with their job. So we didn't really feel that was appropriate. And so that was kind of a win. Then the next one is really about the teaching periods. So this was really kind of a flat line because we just changed it to what it is now, and it's really the very same thing. So from 5 periods, this really had to do more with the middle school and high school, to the equivalent of 6 periods, 42-minute periods, to reflect the change in their schedule. In the next article, 10, guaranteeing elementary teachers who really have less planning time than some of the others to have at least 5 planned periods, so 1 each day, Monday through Friday, that coordinates with their lunch period. So they get about 25 minutes of lunch, and then they get 30 minutes of plan time. So that was definitely seen as needed and necessary. And then our athletic director is now under the AGSA. He is an administrator, so we don't need to have that language in a teacher contract because we no longer have a teacher as, athletic director. And then we added language requiring teachers who leave the district within 2 years to have to reimburse their tuition. So one of the things Groton does really well is we educate our teachers and we provide professional development. We've supported it through many DODEA grants, and so I really feel our teachers are really top-notch and have the best training ever. And they also are reimbursed for tuitions when they go back to college and get masters upon masters or further degrees. But we expect them to stay with us for at least 2 years after they've done that. Otherwise, they have to pay that back. We do understand we're a military community, so there are some exceptions that we certainly would consider. And then finally, in Appendix C1, parties agreed to review sports activity stipends. So typically during a negotiation, we go through all the stipends at the same time, and it really lengthens the time to do negotiations. So we agreed to bring a subcommittee together from the board and the GEA to look at our stipends very carefully and make further changes that would be necessary. So that's kind of the contract, and I know that you've just been handed it, and this little memorandum from Floyd Dugas was very helpful to us. And so negotiations, it seems we have one after the other, but we're really pleased that this was a 4-year, and we're really we're very grateful to the people who spent a lot of time working on this, and I thank them. So I just wanted to make sure if you had any questions, You could ask him or I or Juliet. She was there right with us, so.
All right, thank you. So we'll open it up to any counselors who might have questions. Counselor Bordelon, then Baumgartner.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all your hard work on this. I know that it takes a lot of time and effort to come to agreements and work through all the language, so I do appreciate that. One section that I just had a question, more of a clarifying question, in the area where you guys did the high cost and prior auth for imaging. I think that's great if it's a money savings to the town, but it really doesn't support the employee. It can delay access to crucial screening to prevent long-term disabilities or possible catching things like cancer. So I'm just curious, I mean, this is a very small blurb without all the details, but I'm hoping there's some clauses in there where there's exceptions. Prior auths, as someone who works in the medical field, who does a lot of these prior auths for patients, it can be very time-consuming, and paperwork can take weeks, sometimes days, hours to get through when people need access and care, when a doctor makes a decision that an imaging or diagnostic needs to be done. And so I am concerned that there might be a delay. So I'm just wondering what other language might support this small one sentence.
So I really feel that in most cases, I know with healthcare that you do have to have authorization from your GP, or if you're in a cancer treatment, your oncologist, to be able to have these different images. So I've just noticed even in my realm that it is something that is very typical and it's typically done. And I think it's just, with great care that we're considering how many imaging and MRIs are needed for these different things. So leaving it up to the healthcare experts to make sure that people get what they need. So that's where the prior authorization, I think, happens.
So I'm just assuming the current plan did not have a prior authorization required?
Not for these particular high-cost diagnostics.
Okay. Thank you.
Counselor Baumgartner?
Yes, I just wanted to commend the Board of Education for reaching the settlement with the Groton Education Association. Just a few highlights, seeing that an elementary teacher will be able to, there's about a 25-minute student-free period of budding lunch where the teachers will have free time, and having, a mother who is no longer an elementary school teacher, but, I know she very much valued that time as much as she loves her kids, just to be able to regroup, and just so many other highlights. So really commend the Board of Education, the negotiating committee, very glad we're supporting our teachers. They've done a lot. They've made a lot of sacrifices the last couple of years, and so hats off to them and all teachers that live in Groton and teach in our wonderful schools. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Counselor Frank.
Planning is the secret sauce to education. It's necessary. And I think if we've learned anything after COVID-19, it's the collaborative, cooperative planning, careful planning is so necessary. And it really does link directly to our students' success. So I am grateful too. Thank you.
Counselor Franco.
Hi, in the back, I was looking at Section J, where it says they're allowed up to 2 weeks of sick leave to be used following the birth or adoption of a child. I was curious, are they allowed to bank time over year after year, and bank up time?
So their sick time accrues over the years. So yes, to a certain point. So they would be able to accrue that, but they get this was for 2 weeks using the sick time. there's a certain amount of time that a mother who has either adopted a child or who has a mother or a father, or who has had a child. I think it's 6 weeks versus 8 weeks for a C-section, but this would be 2 additional weeks that they could use their sick time for.
And they don't fall under higher guidelines that because you have so many employees that it would be longer?
Could you say that again? I'm having a hard time hearing.
I'm sorry, it's my mask. It's my mask. So
I'm sorry.
So I was just curious.
It's very hard to hear.
I'm sorry. So I was curious, there's twofold here. I was curious if they're only allowed to take up to 2 weeks, or if they had accrued from year after year and had more sick time, could they take it more sick time? Or only allowed?
So this is 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks in addition to the 6 standard weeks from FMLA.
Okay.
So it gives them an extra 2 weeks.
I understand.
And then they can certainly take a child rearing leave, with approval. But then there is no more. They would not get paid after that.
And I was curious, do they fall under the, are they eligible for the new state family and medical leave where they could contribute a percentage? I think it's a half of a percent, quarter of a percent of their pay.
I'd have to get back to you on that. I'll ask my HR director about that.
I was just curious because I do know that at work, people are contributing into that, and beginning January 1st, they would be eligible, and they would have had to have been putting in since the beginning of this year. I think Councilor Parker.
I can check back
might want to
and
comment.
get back to you on that.
I wasn't.
I will ask.
Okay, and then another question on just the section letter B. It says it deletes language requiring the board to provide for defense of a teacher arrested in connection with their job. So previously, how is that applied? Was it there certain circumstances, or was it across the board?
The board has never really provided the lawyer. Oftentimes the GEA, if a teacher is, up for some kind of a, suspension or something related to their job, that's taken care of through the GEA. But if it's a criminal act, they would have to get their own lawyer.
Okay.
The board wouldn't provide that.
Yeah, I was just curious about how that had played out in the past. All right, but I am interested in the medical leave. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks, and I'm glad you got this all done for 4 years. Thank you.
I know, me too.
Councilor Parker, did you wish to speak on this?
I wasn't sure about the new Family Leave Act. I don't know if it pertains to municipalities or if there was a certain number of people that have to be within the plan. So we may want to check that before because I didn't think municipalities were part of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I do know it's any business with one employee or more. So it's not a number. But municipalities
Those
might be
different. It might be written in differently, so we may want to check that first.
Director Mealy was agreeing with you, I think? Okay. Okay. I just want to say thank you to Chairperson Watson and Superintendent Austin and our own Councilor Parker for your work on this. It's always good to see teachers getting a good contract. I'm pleased that you were able to settle, and it looks like it's a fair contract. So thank you for your work on that.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you for your patience through the
Good
hearings,
night.
and
Good night.
take care.
Bye-bye.
All right, so we are... Okay, we are on to 5D. This is 2021-780 Library Municipal Video Technician. This is page 17. I believe Councilor Heed is still with us. If you could take this one, Councilor Heed, please.
All right, I'll make a motion to recommend a resolution approving the new part-time municipal video technician position. I so move.
Second, Parker.
Moved by Heed and seconded by Parker. Everyone's eager to approve the video technician.
Yeah.
So with us this evening, we have Director Mealy, who'd like to go ahead and introduce us.
Thank you. My name is Jennifer Mealy, Director of Library Services. Yes, I am here to request a new position, a part-time municipal video technician, for the simple fact that I could bore you with how many minutia of things that they do in GMTV, but as you can see over the past year, maybe year and a half, the demand on their services has risen exponentially. And I can tell you, you can see that with many of the things that they're doing. Virtual services, this being one with all the hybrid that they're doing. It's requiring 2 staff members to be here. Sean alone who is the supervisor of municipal services there in GMTV. He has written over $35,000 in grants this past year. He has been the council has awarded the CIPs for him to go in and install, spec out, and do a lot of digital media design and many of the annexes, rollout of digital signage. There's just so much to do, and we're talking a 2-person team. Quite frankly, there's a lot of overtime going through this process, a lot of meetings, and expectations. While COVID is declining, we hope, we are seeing that expectations are going to remain on these services. So we would love to see them grow a bit. And I do have to tell you that the funding for this position is funded through what we have now in our library budget. So no additional money at this time would be required.
Thank you. I'm going to take the opportunity to speak first on this. Let me just get this started. I just want to say that I have been so impressed with the work that your team has done over the past year or so, but going all the way back to years and years ago when Mr. Greeley has been with us, and we were kind of on the cutting edge of doing video and taping our meetings and even taping our RTM meetings. And the quality has just increased over the years so tremendously. Mr. Greeley and Liam have really stepped up to the plate under your direction and done an amazing job to keep us running, to keep us up and running and keep the town functioning at the height of the pandemic. So kudos to you for all of that and to your workers. And I just wanted to add, and I think I've mentioned this before to Sean, but a journalism professor I know that lives in another state actually used our town meetings as an exemplar for municipal video recording. Wow. So that's saying something right there. The quality that she saw with the way they are able to capture the interaction between the public and the elected officials was remarkable compared to what she saw. She sampled from all across the country, and she said the quality was amazing here. So we're very fortunate. And I support this position. I hope you can find someone to fill this position. So thank you for your work, and I am definitely in support of this.
I would like to add to that, you know, I'd be remiss not adding this, that the creative things that are happening behind the scenes are just quite amazing. And you can see some of that in some of the work that they're doing just with their, I call them commercials, but they're doing a recruiting video, trying to capture just the right images and the video, and it's just amazing. And when they show me this stuff, I just don't know what I would do if both of them don't show up to work, because I certainly could not do what they do. So I just can't say enough about their creative endeavors.
Councilor Bordelon.
Thank you. I do think it's very important to make sure we have the proper staff to support technology. Technology is growing and evolving, and we're seeing the use more and more. I think it's really important to make sure we're properly staffed as, looking as the pandemic, one person's sick, and, we need to have the extra power and support of another position to make sure that we can support this. I'm not too sure. I know that the Board of Ed has their own filming. Would there be any extension with them helping and supporting the Board of Ed to have more available filming for them at all, or is this strictly going to be through?
It's strictly for town government because the school has their own person that runs the educational portion of the town's business.
So I guess the other piece that, it's a need, we definitely need it. But as an elected official, it's great to hear that we can support this now. But the question that folks are going to ask is, what will this be like later, moving forward into budgets down the road? So on here it says an hourly level 4. Could you explain what a level 4 is?
So a level 4 is based on, there's steps and ways of whatever this breakdown is for each particular position. For this position, union hourly level 4, it comes at a particular rate. And I think I actually have that. Hold on one moment. So the current starting hourly rate for 4 is $24.97 an hour.
So what are we, as of right now, it's obviously going to be funded within, which is wonderful, but what would this be an additional to the town salary and benefits that the town should be prepared for?
I'd have to get back to you on the benefit portion of things, but as I said, it's a union position, so it would go up in increments during steps per year. One thing that I wanted to remark about, and I didn't before, is I think last budget season we had actually a discussion. You had asked me, regarding part-time staff. What would part-time staff, because I had elected at the time, we had funding from a retirement that happened. And the part-time staff that I had were for library staff. But I spoke to how during COVID, we wouldn't need those people right now because the library, it hasn't gone back to pre-pandemic levels. However, with this particular position, this was a need. I said I would come back and only request things that are a need. And as you can see, things have the demand has greatly increased. So that's why I'm requesting it. As for for future years, depending on the needs of the community, how many more meetings they want to see, how many more programs they want to see on TV or on YouTube, along with the many other things that GMTV does. I may actually come back and ask for, to increase some of these hours to a full-time staff member. But I will only ask that if the need far outweighs what they can do. I'm not sure that answers your question, but I just wanted to, something I forgot about regarding budget season.
No, I just think it's great. I think this is, obviously I'm supportive of the need, but I do think it's important to make sure that if we could just have the level sent to us
Sure.
ahead of time to review, and what the full expense is. I think when looking at something, we're kind of up here to make sure that we are looking at that. Right now it's funded, but then eventually it will not be, possibly, we don't know, internally in the budget. And so it'd be great to have those numbers and what the full impact would be. But again, I think this is a great opportunity.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilors Franco and Baumgartner.
How many hours a week do you think this might be? About 20 or?
20 hours is what we're looking for, yes. Sorry, if you can hear me.
So 20 hours, I did the math, and you're pretty close to $26,000, and that's before benefits. So, and I can just imagine how much more work they've had over the past year compared to what they've had before, and I can definitely see a need here. I would also like to see the breakdown as well, maybe by the time we get this to the council, unless we're doing it tonight.
Tonight.
Yeah. This is going forward tonight. If you could send that, just so we could know in the future.
So you would like to know the breakdown of what a level 4 is, correct?
Basically, yeah. With the benefit package included.
Okay.
If you could, or even if it's a roundabout. But I think this position is probably desperately needed with all the additional work due to COVID. So I would support that. Thank you.
Councilor Baumgartner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And Madam Mayor, I think you articulated many of my thoughts very well. Really, Sean and Liam doing yeoman's work during the pandemic. The guys behind the cameras, of course. Just being able to watch Planning and Zoning Commission meetings, Zoning Board and Appeals Commission meetings, and all these different organizations that often, or boards and commissions within our community that we would have to go in person to participate or learn about what they're doing or listen to an audio recording. Now all of these meetings are online, and they've organized it so well. The videos, the educational videos that they produced over the last few months, one in particular I really liked was the waterways, exploring, our local environment, and getting, some environmental stakeholders to present on the importance of protecting, our. It's amazing, and so you articulated in the agenda that really COVID created the need for this, and you just said to Councilor Bordelon that we could be using. There could be a demand in the future, and should there be a demand, I certainly would support continuing to invest in our our municipal television system and our video systems, because I think it's it puts us ahead of, I think, some of our surrounding municipalities, and really exposes young people, all kinds of people within our community, to local government, and that's so important to feel connected. And you've certainly done that, and really thank you. So I'll be supporting this motion, but just an idea, should there be a demand in the future, perhaps we could explore utilizing some of the COVID funds we'll be getting through ARPA, because again, this is a demonstrated need, that was created as a result of COVID. So hope we can continue these investments in the future, and again, thank you for your work in the last couple of years.
Thank you.
Are there any other first-time speakers before we go to second time? Councilor Bordelon?
Thank you. One other thing that
I'm sorry.
I did.
Councilor Parker, I'm sorry, I didn't see.
Sure.
So I believe Councilor Franco figured out the dollar amount, about $26,000. So they also get benefits for part-time under the
Part-time benefit, so it'll be half.
Okay.
Yeah.
So my thing is, you did mention they're both working on overtime. So our overtime costs are way up there right now. So it's probably closer to almost what the dollar amount would be for him, to part-time person, to come on board. So I think it's going to balance out that the part-time person coming on board is going to decrease their overtime costs. So I'm fully in support of this. And if you've already worked it into your budget because of other things have happened and positions have changed, totally for it, and just to cut down overtime so we're not overworking them too. Thank you guys. You guys do a wonderful job and very supportive and always willing to help out a person when they need to, if they have technical questions. So thank you.
Councilor Borderline.
Thank you. I guess as Councilor Parker asked, so there would be a decrease in overtime cost?
So we budget, in FY 2021, we budgeted $1,351 for overtime for GMTV staff. And the demand was exceeded, I had my financial assistant run some numbers, that was exceeded by 243%. So a total of $3,285 was spent on overtime pay. So it far exceeded what we had budgeted. So to answer that question, we definitely hope so. I mean, yes.
The overtime, I just want to clarify, I'm salaried, so the overtime really is extra hours.
Or Liam.
Liam's an hourly employee, so when you guys go late, I'm here. It doesn't matter. But Liam is hourly, so that's where that overtime's going to go.
Yeah, and I wanted to also remark, that's one thing that Sean usually, he actually always reviews, is if he knows it's going to be a potential late night, he's the one staying because he's salary. So they're always looking to make sure that they're trying to be so within means, but, like I said, the demand, we have to be here. They have to finish up the job. So I do believe that we will see at least keeping our budget within the means rather than going over, because we'll have an extra person to help with filming. And the other tasks that I have listed in the packet.
My last question was looking at the job description. Is it possible or feasible to also put in here, not that it's a requirement, but it would be something that we'd be seeking, looking for someone who's dual language? I think as I watch some of the other towns, they're starting to incorporate translation on certain public hearings. Also, if there was ever a public emergency, it's great to have somebody on staff that's in broadcasting that is dual language, that can get the message out and help translate. I also have seen a movement where the meetings for town municipal meetings, they are actually starting to put in the translation at the bottom of the meetings in caption. So not saying we have to go there, but it would be nice, it's a nice thing to put in here to say that.
So one thing I know with our YouTube, it does do closed captioning. And as for that, what you spoke of about dual language, well, the job description will be as is. We can request within our hiring, when we request to put in that we would be hopeful or looking for somebody who preferred to have a dual language, which we actually just did with our children's librarian. So yes, to that point, yes, we can do that, certainly.
That'd be great. And also looking at our local colleges for somebody that's graduating in communications, bringing in some youth, from our local universities and stuff that are looking for part-time work to get into the field, I think would be a great avenue in connecting with those schools. Thank you.
Okay, seeing no other comments, we will vote on 2021-780, Library Municipal Video Technician. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved unanimously with 9 counselors. Thank you. Thank you, Director Mealy.
Thank you.
Okay, that was Councilor Heed. So we are on to 2021-778, Town Council Regular Meeting Schedule 2022. This is on page 20. Councilor Aubry, would you read that one for us, please?
Certainly. Motion to recommend a resolution for approval of the Town Council's regular meeting schedule for 2022 as attached. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Aubry and seconded by Franco. And I don't really think there's anything to say, but it's here. Councilor Franco?
Actually, Councilor Parker had brought up earlier that, are we changing the location to the senior center?
That is up to the council on where they want to meet. The air quality's better here, and it's not set up yet for CR1 for hybrid, so I don't know what the timeline will be for that either.
So should we possibly change it to this location? And also, if the next council wanted to, can we add additional town council meetings or COW meetings if we so choose? It would just be, we might add it as like a potentially a special meeting. Is that how it would be?
Correct.
And then we could do a calendar as well for special meetings throughout the year if need, if chosen. So I'd like to make a.
The room 1, we can have that set up to do something very similar to this. That's really going to be up to the council. I mean, that can be done in the next few weeks. We have something preliminary set up. There is more work going to happen in that room, but we could have something very similar to this. So.
I would mention that, almost everybody complains about the air quality in there. We've had issues, as you know, with staff in that building, with allergies. And so in terms of air quality, I think the preference would be here.
And I would just say, I'm not sure, because it is impacting the next council, I don't know if you want to wait and let the next council choose where you're going to be. I mean, we could approve the schedule and then you guys could decide where you want to meet. I don't know what you guys prefer. But Councilor Franco still has the floor.
Maybe we'll just leave it as is and we'll let the next council decide if they'd like to bring it back up as an agenda item and with the proper votes. Thank you.
Councilor Baumgartner, did you want to address this?
Yes. Is there any reason why the council can't actually vote on the meeting calendar as a whole, the new council?
Well, the reason is because they wouldn't be able to approve anything until January, and you have to have the meeting set before that. So we always do it in November because of that.
Okay.
But again, it can be altered, though.
Thank you.
Councilor Bordelon?
I guess my question was along the lines of Councilor Baumgartner's. Our first meeting would be in December under the new council, correct?
Correct.
So couldn't we approve it on that date?
If you had a special cow, sure.
Yeah, so it could, I think it's possible. I guess the question too, I guess leave it open-ended as far as where the location is, but it seems like it's a disservice not to have a place that's designated for the work that we do, being our town annex that has poor air quality, and then we're taking up the space here that could be used for other public events and outings and things since it's a large space for our community. So, like, what's the projection on the air quality there, and what are we doing to get back in?
My understanding is that'll be an application. It would have been a CIP, but first we're going to put an application in for ARPA dollars, because that's a really easy one to justify to fix the air quality issue there.
Right. I mean, I think even if the ARPA dollars don't come through, I think it should be fixed. I mean, it's a place that's designated for this type of business, and I think we should be utilizing the space. So I think we should move and act pretty quickly on that and have our meetings back where they should be based on the space. So I'm just confused by the delay.
And otherwise, it would require a CIP process mid-budget, but that can be done.
But the air quality has been not so great there for several years, isn't it?
Yeah, and they've been studying it. And
right. So, okay.
Yeah.
It just makes sense to me that we move quickly with that to work towards, having a space. If employees are concerned about their quality and we can't be there, it would be in our best interest as a town to move swiftly with that and make it, it's a very brand new, it's a pretty new building that's not being used, so that's a concern. But I can agree with Councilor Franco and maybe just leave this, but it would make sense to make this state to be more clear, or even add, town annex / senior center. That way, it leaves the option and door open. But I do think that this could wait to December and vote on it at that time. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so we will vote on 2021-778 Town Council 2022 regular meeting schedule. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
I'll abstain.
Aye.
Councilor Zepari, was that an abstention?
Yes.
7 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 abstentions, Bordelon and Zepari. That motion passes. Okay, Councilor Bordelon, we are on to 2021-762 Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule. This is on page 22, please.
Yep, I make a motion to recommend a resolution approving the Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule for 2022 as attached.
Second.
Moved by Bordelon and seconded by Franco. This one also has the location as the annex. And it notes the move to Wednesday for Election Day. Councilor Baumgartner?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend one date. That would be Tuesday, August 9th, 2022.
Say that again, please.
Yes. It is Tuesday, August 9th, 2022. Like it possible to change it to Wednesday, August 9th, 2022?
August 10th?
I'm sorry. Yes, August 10th, 2022.
One thing to note is that is an RTM meeting that night. That would be maybe remote, maybe here. It's hard to not, I imagine it would be here that night, but we could.
That would be more reason to be.
So I don't know if you want to do the same night or move it up, the day before or what. Just mentioning it.
A day before, I am only because that is the day of the primary, and I think we should just start setting a precedent where we don't have meetings on.
So are you going for the 10th, or are you going to take the 8th?
Either or.
Your choice.
To accommodate the RTM, let's maybe do Monday. That works. So Monday, Monday, August 8th, 2022.
Okay, so the amendment is to change, the Tuesday, August 9th Committee of the Whole to Monday, August 8th, 2022, to prevent conflict with the primary. Is there a second on that?
I'll second that.
Moved by Baumgartner, seconded by Bordelon, to change that one date on the calendar for Cal. Okay. Councilor Bordelon, did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did. I also, again, is there any rush? I mean, times, the new council has not been on. Maybe there's some changes that people want. I think it's a little premature to make changes without having the full staff that's going to impact be present. Also, again, the push for the annex to be reopened, a conflict, because, the RTM is here and the space is being used, so it's even more important to get all of this stuff figured out.
Do you have more, or is that it?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, seeing no other comments, we will vote on 2021-762 Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule with the change to the August 9th meeting to August 8th. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
Eight in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Councilor Zepari. That takes us to 2021-777, Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee regular meeting schedule. This is page 24. Councilor Melendez. I think.
I make a motion to recommend a resolution for approval of the Town Council Personnel and Appointments regular meeting schedule for 2022 as attached. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Melendez and seconded by Baumgartner. Councilor Bordelon.
Thank you. Again, we don't know who's serving on this committee, and 5:30 might not fit the appropriate times. Is there any reason that it has to be at 5:30?
At the pleasure of the council.
Right. So should it state to be time to be determined and date? We don't know. I just don't want it to eliminate other folks who might want to be on that committee if they have conflict, and it might need to be 6 o'clock, for instance. Some people work till 5:15, 5 o'clock, and don't get home till 5:30.
I just think by the end of the calendar year, you have to have something set to the state with the with the time.
Right, we could also work on this again in December and appropriate the times. I just think it's a little foolish to rush and set dates and times without having proper people present to be able to be part of the discussion, which I think is very important. So a 5:30 start time is not convenient for most working folks. I have concern with the time.
Madam Mayor.
Councilor Bordelon still has the floor. I'm not sure if she's...
I'm all set, thank you.
Councilor Parker.
Just a clarifying, just a question. If it needs to be changed, we would have to send notice to the state. Well, we make it a special meeting instead to change the whole schedule?
If you got into the new year, yes. However, in December, you could decide to have a special meeting and make the changes.
All right, so we would have to have a special meeting, and I believe we only have...
Not that you'd have to have another night, but you know, just like we do other times, you'd insert a special cow or a special council.
Within the month of December,
Right.
Which is only one meeting, correctly? Am I thinking correctly for
There's
next
a regular
month?
council meeting at the beginning, and then there's one cow.
Cow,
Right.
okay. All right, thank you.
Okay, seeing no further comments, we'll vote on 2021-777 Town Council Personnel and Appointments 2022 regular meeting schedule. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstentions?
Aye.
That motion passes 7 in favor, 1 opposed, Bordelon, 1 abstention, Zepari. Okay. We are on to, the next item on the agenda is the one that we were asked to hold off on, the 2021-623 Board of Education retiree COLA. That's going to go back to Superintendent Austin asked to discuss that with Board of Ed, so we're pulling that from the agenda this evening so she could take that back to the board and discuss. It'll come back to us as time allows. That leads us to 2020-637 Complete Streets Policy. There is no action required at this time, but I would like to take some action. And I am going to appoint a work group to study options for the Complete Streets Plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed a draft policy, and they are in favor of the adoption of a Complete Streets Policy. And we being the town, needs to do some work on this and make some decisions about where we want to go with this. And I would ask that Councilor Baumgardner take the lead on the Complete Streets Plan. And I know Councilor Heed has expressed an interest, and I have also expressed an interest. So if you would like to have a meeting before the term is up, I'd be happy to meet. Otherwise, you can pick it up in December with the new council. But are you willing to take that on, Councilor Baumgardner?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. So that leads us to other business. Is there any other business at this time? If not, we've got one other short thing we have to take care of. Councilor Bordelon?
I just wanted to say, I do think our meetings, happening on the same night with planning and zoning is a bit of a conflict, and I was wanted to ask John if there's any way in the future to look at that. Like tonight, they're talking about the short-term rentals, and we have to watch it after the fact, and I think it really limits the council to be able to really understand, maybe take some notes in real time, and so that's my first question.
If the council so wish, you could make the request to it's at their discretion when they meet the Planning and Zoning Commission, so it would be a request from the council for them to consider whether another night might work for them.
So would you recommend that I send you an email, or is that something you would ask, or do you need a consensus?
Well, there was consensus among the council.
Oh, so do we need consensus tonight?
Or whenever.
Okay. Madam Mayor, are we allowed to ask consensus if anybody else thinks it's a conflict to have to send a request forward?
You are welcome to, but I would say you're going to have a new body here in a few short weeks. And I would recommend you talk to your new peer group and see what they would like to do with this. But you certainly, if you'd like to ask tonight, if there's consensus to do so, you're certainly welcome to do that.
Once again, it wouldn't change our body's time because we're kind of set. It would be just to be able to put the feeler out there, and hopefully by then it would be back in time when our new council took our seat. So I guess I would ask, my first thing would be, is there consensus to consider having through John Burt, sending a message and asking if they would consider a different night when convenient to make the move, not right away, so that we're able to view and be privy to what's going on.
So I'm sorry, I didn't make myself clear on that. I meant that the new council may not have that same desire that this body has. So it might be in the best interest to wait until the new body is seated to see if that new council has the same wish.
Right.
But you are certainly willing. Is there?
I agree with you, because it wouldn't change anything that we would be doing as a council. We would just be asking. And if there's not a consensus here, I can bring it up the next time.
Yes. Yes.
So I guess, is there a consensus of people that are interested to send a request forward to ask?
Can I speak to that?
Well, Councilor Bordelon still has the floor, so I'm seeing, is that a hand, one hand in favor? Would you like to yield your time to Councilor Baumgartner?
I'll yield it for a minute, sure.
Councilor Baumgartner, you have the floor.
I definitely think it's worth exploring, just given the great number of issues that I think kind of intersect with what we're doing and have been doing over the last year or so. But I would agree with Mayor Granatowski that we should really start those discussions as soon as the full council is seated.
I'm fine with that either way. Just wanted to put the feeler out. With the new council coming on, it really wouldn't change any of the planning and zoning, which is not changing, and ask them if they wanted to consider it, and then it could come before the new council to talk about. I just want to get the ball rolling, but if there's not a consensus tonight, I will bring it up under the new council.
Very good.
My other question is...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you had yielded the floor. Let me start your timer again.
Sure.
Go ahead.
To John Burt again, town manager. Planning and zoning, I do think should be brought in on the property swap as well, on the town side and the Noank side. I think they should be brought in on the discussion and the no on that. It doesn't seem like it really has had a large connect from the town and the Noank zoning side. So I'd like to see more collaboration with that. Also, with the short-term rentals as well, under the public, hearing and discussions that we've had, I think it's really important that our planning and zoning are brought in on board at a sooner time. As we noticed before, problems can be created when we do not do such, and so I really encourage that we make that our priority and are sending the information forward. So that's what I have. Thank you.
And just to mention, Deb Jones did confirm that the Planning and Zoning Commission, it's been a while, that they were aware of the council's what they were working on with short-term rentals. And I have had some emails. I've been staying in touch with the Noank Fire Board, as well as I've had some outreach with the I think it was the chair of the Planning and Zoning, and they said, well, let's let the fire board take the lead for now. Because, again, there's many steps that would have to be done to move that forward. And so before spending a lot of time trying to play applications or anything else, that we're just, well, is there any interest in the first place, before we waste a lot of staff time? But they were aware at one point, so.
Okay. All right. Councilor Baumgartner.
I don't believe we have a meeting on the 30th, correct? The 30th or the 23rd?
Of this month?
Yes.
No.
So I'd just like to take a point of personal privilege to thank Mayor Granatowski for her service. So thank you for putting up with us, but showing graciousness, especially during these very tumultuous times, and leading our community and this council. We haven't always agreed, but you have always showed me personal respect, and for that I'm very grateful, and wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And no, you won't be too far, but thank you.
Thank you. We still have another meeting to get through tonight. Thank you, though, for saying that. That's very kind. Okay, seeing no other business, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the cow.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Parker, seconded by Franco. All those in favor of adjournment of the cow, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? So moved unanimously. The cow is adjourned at 9:10. Okay, onward, upward. So, we are on to our Town Council special meeting agenda. It is Tuesday, November 9th, 2021, and it is 9:10 p.m. I'm hoping that Lisa can get this. Roll call is all council members are present. We have a quorum. We have a few matters of new business to tend to. The first being 2021-7801 Library Municipal Video Technician. This is on page 2. I think we'll go back to Councilor Baumgartner, please.
Yes, bear with me, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Thank you. Resolution approving the fulfillment of a part-time municipal video technician at Groton Public Library. Whereas Groton Municipal Television, a unit of the Groton Public Library, is seeking a staff member to support a busy production schedule and to meet the increased demands of the video, digital, and audiovisual needs of the town. Whereas the library will create a part-time municipal video technician position to facilitate support of GMTV. Whereas the town manager concurs with and recommends adoption of the plan as submitted, and resolved that the town council approves the fulfillment of the part-time municipal video technician as requested. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Baumgartner and seconded by Parker, and this is the item we just discussed in the cow. Councilor Bordelon.
Yeah, I'm in full support of it, but I'm kind of leaning towards abstaining because I feel I don't have all the information in front of me. So I just want to clarify my abstention. It's not going to be for the sake of not thinking the town needs the position. It's that I'm tasked with making sure I understand what's going on and not having the full, we can take the 20 hours times the amount, but I don't have the contract in front of me. I don't have the full level 4 bridge, how it's going to look, what the benefits look like. So I'm voting on something I don't feel like I have all the information on personally. So, but I'm in full support of the position. I just wish I had the proper supporting documents. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, we'll vote on 2021-780 Library Municipal Video Technician. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Bordelon, that motion passes. We are on to 2021-778 Town Council Regular Meeting Schedule 2022. This has the, let me make sure is this the one? No, it's the cow that has the change. Okay. Councilor Parker?
Resolution approving 2022 Town Council regular meeting schedule. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby approves the Town Council regular meeting schedule for 2022 as follows. Tuesday, January 4th, 2022, Tuesday, February 1st, 2022, Tuesday, March 1st, 2022, Tuesday, April 5th, 2022, Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022, Tuesday, June 7th, 2022, Tuesday, July 5th, 2022, Tuesday, August 2nd, 2022, Tuesday, September 6th, 2022, Tuesday, October 4th, 2022, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, and Tuesday, December 6th, 2022. All meetings begin at 6:30 p.m. in the Community Room 1, Town Hall Annex 134, Groton Long Point Road, on the first Tuesday of each month. I so move.
Second. Franco.
Moved by Parker and seconded by Franco. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Aye.
8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. Zepari. Thank you. We are on to 2021-762 Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule. This is on page 4, but please note that we had the change to the August 9th meeting. It should read Monday, August 8th, 2022. Councilor Franco, please.
Resolution approving the 2022 Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby approves the Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule for 2022 as follows. Tuesday, January 11th, 2022. Tuesday, January 25th, 2022. Tuesday, February 8th, 2022. Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Tuesday, March 22nd, 2022. Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Tuesday, April 26th, 2022. Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Tuesday, May 24th, 2022. Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Tuesday, July 12th, 2022. Tuesday, July 26th, 2022. Monday, August 8th, 2022. Tuesday, August 23rd, 2022. Tuesday, September 13th, 2022. Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. Tuesday, October 11th, 2022. Tuesday, October 25th, 2022. Wednesday, Tuesday, November 15th, 2022. Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. All meetings begin at 6:30 in the Community Room 1, Town Hall Annex 134, Groton Long Point Road, in the second and fourth Tuesdays of each month, except November and December and August. And then it has a notation that is moved to Wednesday, November 4th, 2022, due to an election day on November 8th, 2022, and moved to August 8th.
Wait, I'm not sure where you are.
You meant move to Wednesday, November 9th, 2022.
Yeah, did I say that?
No, you said 4th.
I'm sorry, 9th, due to election day on November 8th, 2022. And then I had to put in a line that says moved from August 9th, 2022 to Monday, August 8th, 2022. I so move.
Second.
Okay, so I'm not sure why you're adding in the extra line.
Because
it's a notation of what the changes are.
You're just adding the notation rather
from the
because
Tuesday.
we changed it in
we had to
the committee of the whole. Right. So it came through committee of the whole, correct?
So what this sentence here is saying all the meetings are on Tuesday except for notated.
So you want to add, so you added the August
I'm just notating
8th.
the change.
Thank you.
Okay.
And who seconded that?
It was a tie.
Baumgartner.
Moved by Franco, seconded by Baumgartner to win the tie. Yes, Councilor Bordelon.
Did it reflect, I just want to make sure I didn't miss, did it reflect, is this the one that Councilor Baumgartner made a change?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
To reflect the primary. All right, we will vote on 2021-762 Town Council Committee of the Whole regular meeting schedule. That reflects the change for the primary in August. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
I'm sorry, I'm abstaining, not opposing.
That's fine. 8 in favor, 0 opposed, 1 abstention. So carry. Thank you. That passes. And we are on to Councilor Keed. This is 2021-7771, Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee regular meeting schedule. On page 6 in your packet, please.
Resolution approving 2022 Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee regular meeting schedule. Be it resolved that the Town Council hereby approves the Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee regular meeting schedule for 2022 as follows. Tuesday, January 18, 2022, Tuesday, February 15, 2022, Tuesday, March 15, 2022, April 19, 2022, Tuesday, May 17th, 2022, Tuesday, June 21st, 2022, Tuesday, July 19th, 2022, Tuesday, August 16, 2022, Tuesday, September 20, 2022, Tuesday, October 18, 2022, Tuesday, November 15, 2022, Tuesday, December 20, 2022. All meetings begin at 5:30 p.m. in Community Room 1, Town Hall Annex 134, Groton Long Point Road on the third Tuesday of each month. I so move.
Second.
Moved by Keed and seconded by Franco. All those in favor of 2021-777 Town Council Personnel and Appointments Committee regular meeting schedule, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Borderline.
Aye.
Bordelon, are you opposed or abstain?
I'm abstaining.
7 in favor, 0 opposed, 2 abstentions, Bordelon and Zepari. That motion passes. And that takes us to the end of the agenda, and I would just ask everyone's indulgence for a moment. I just want to say thank you to my peers on the council and to the public for entrusting me with this awesome responsibility for the past 4 years. It's been a pleasure. And thank you to town staff. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second. So moved.
Second.
Moved by Baumgartner and seconded by Franco. All those in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstained? So moved unanimously. We are adjourned at 9:20. Woot.
Recording stopped.
Thank you. Oh, they already hung up.